Question 2 says that the 35-member History Club is meeting to choose a student government representative. The members decide that the representative, who will be chosen at random, cannot be any of the 3 officers of the club. What is the probability that Hiroko, who is a member of the club but not an officer, will be chosen? And what I'm noticing here about the answer choices is that we basically have 4 fractions from G to K. We have 0 for F, and that the number 35 is mentioned in a couple of these answers, and it's also mentioned in the prompt. And same thing with the number 3. That's also mentioned in the prompt. Now, as far as the ACT math concepts that seem to be involved here, we have this idea of probability, and it looks like it's just a basic probability type question. And when we get a probability question like this on the ACT, what we're expected to know is how to set up a probability fraction. And to do that, we basically need to figure out the number of desired outcomes for the situation, as well as the number of total possible outcomes. And this is the basics of how you set up a probability fraction. And just put a little division sign here to represent the fraction. So in this particular case, let's think about the number of desired outcomes. Essentially, we're looking for the probability that this one person, Hiroko, is going to be chosen. So the number of desired outcomes is just going to be 1 for that one person. And now let's think about the number of total possible outcomes. So how many possibilities do we have when we actually choose this representative? Well, we know that there are 35 members in the History Club, but we're also told that 3 of those members are officers, and those officers cannot be chosen. So we're actually selecting, instead of from 35, we're selecting from 35 minus 3, 32 different people. So the number of total possible outcomes here is going to be 32. So our probability fraction is 1 over 32, and that matches up with K. So that is our answer. Let's look at the wrong answers now. So for 0, this could reflect the mistake of thinking that Hiroko is actually an officer. And since we're told that the representative cannot be an officer, then the probability that he would be elected would be 0. For G, this seems to reflect a couple different mistakes. One is that our total number of outcomes is 35, so that would be including those 3 officers that can't be selected. And it also seems like on the numerator, they've included the 3 officers as numbers of desired outcomes in addition to Hiroko to get that 4. H seems to reflect a similar mistake as G, where they haven't subtracted the officers from the number of possible outcomes. And then we still have just Hiroko as the number of desired outcomes on the top. And then J, this could reflect the mistake of thinking that we're actually choosing from the 3 officers of the club, and that also Hiroko is one of those 3 officers, which of course is not correct. So as far as takeaways from this question, we can expect to be tested on basic probability on the ACT. Another question from this particular math test that involves the same sort of basic probability is question number 5. So if you want to sort of see that concept in action again, feel free to check that one out. But otherwise, let's just go on to question number 3.